Hey guys, the Jericho2 here for runotones.com and welcome to episode number 3 of my mini course, 3betting the flop in 3-bet pots. Very interesting subject and one that I don't see a lot of content on, so I will be more than happy to kind of shed some light on this topic. Let's get into it. So first of all, what is three betting the flop exactly? It's when you are out of position after raising pre, you c-bet the flop, get raised, and you raise again. So for example, cutoff opens to 2.5 big blind. We are small blind. We three bet 211 big blind. Cutoff calls. Flop comes ace 10 3 2 diamond. Small blind bets 5 dB, so around 25%. Cutoff raises to 13, and then small blind 3-bets the flop, so clicks it back, raises again to 30 big blinds. So yeah, this is exactly what 3-betting the flop is, and we're gonna talk in this video. We're gonna talk specifically about 3-betting the flop as a bluff in 3-bet pots, which is very specific, very narrow, and yeah, quite a challenge sometimes. But I think it makes you quite hard to play when you get it right. Just like cold 4-betting in the previous video that we talked about, I think that 3-betting the flop, especially in 3-bet pots, is vastly underused. In single raise spots, I think people know that you need to 3-bet the flop somewhat often because check raising is so rampant. So it's a good way to defend against it. So I think a lot of people know that in single raise spots. However, in 3-bet pots, like I mentioned, it's vastly underused. People don't really 3-bet the flop much, and if they do, it's going to be very value oriented. It shows a lot of strength and can be utilized both as a bluff and as value, but we more often see it as a bluff, right? If you start to increase your 3-betting flop percentage in 3-bet pots, you will see a noticeable difference to your red line. You will become tougher to play against. Raising in position won't guarantee in position player to see free cards against you. So what usually happens is you get, let's say cutoff opens, the same example we took, small blind 3-bets, cutoff calls. We get a disconnected board, like ace 10 3, like I said. Cutoff, small blind bets small, cutoff raises, small blind calls, and then turn is a whatever card that doesn't change much to the board, and then cutoff checks, small blind checks, and then cutoff checks back. So cutoff gained the initiative to get two free cards, basically turn and river. And so yeah, that's, you kind of want to prevent that. You kind of want to punish them for this, and yeah, I've seen that quite often, more at small stakes, though, like 100 NL, 200 NL, but I've seen it even at 500 NL, 1K. It's a great skill to have. I'm talking about 3-betting the flop. It's a great skill to have to be a winning player in today's tough games. Like, the more tools you can add to your arsenal, the better it is, the better equipped you are to beating those tougher games, especially in 2024. So yeah, I believe it's worthwhile studying. I believe it's an important part. It's not like a major part of someone's game, but just to have that tool, just that your opponent know that you're capable of doing this as a bluff, I think is very valuable. 3-betting the flop is not used as much as it should be in 3-bet pots. So like we've said in the previous video, we mentioned that a lot of new players, they shy away from cold 4-betting. It's the same for 3-betting the flop in 3-bet pots. I would even go to say that most established regs are gun shy in this situation and will mostly only 3-bet for value. I'm not exaggerating. I believe I think most regs that I know that I play against, it's mostly for value. Very rarely do I see bluffs there. And I have coached many students, and most of them they knew how to three bet the flop just because of single raise spots. Like I've mentioned, it's a pretty useful tool to have to defend against check raises. So they knew about it. However, almost none of them they know how to three bet the flop and three bet pots. And a lot of them had a flop percentage three bet of 0% in three bet pots. And I think the bare minimum should be around 10 to 15%. So yeah, there's a lot to there's a lot to improve there. And just to show you guys that I'm not talking out of my ad or anything like this, let's have a look at my database on PokerStars since 2023 and see my three betting flop percentage in three bet pots. So after December 31st, 2022, the stakes and out of position, three bet did not call three bet, did not four bet. Okay, so that's all right. The number, this is the 3-bet flop percentage stat on HM2, flop versus raise percentage. So whenever I face a raise in 3-bet pot and I'm out of position, 26% of the time I was clicking it back. This might be a bit too much. I would say that, like I said, the bare minimum should be like 10 to 15%. I think anything like up to like 20 something, 22, 23 is decent. 26 might be a tad high, but I believe it's one of those spots where I think like being aggressive is a bit better than just being overly passive. And so I'm okay with it. But yeah, 26% of the time I would click it back facing a raise in 3-bet pots out of position. So yeah, let's talk about 3-betting the flop for value. So yeah, now we know that 3-betting the flop is valuable. How do we know which hands to 3-bet, right? So I've mentioned that this video will focus more on the bluffing aspect, but I just wanted to touch a little bit on the value aspect because it's quite straightforward. So usually as for value, you want to 3-bet the flop with good top pairs. So let's say ace 9 on 9-5-3 rainbow, small blind versus button. Like you bet button raise. It's a really good hand to click it back there. Or in the same vein of things like vulnerable overpairs. So let's say we have jacks or tens on 9-5-3 rainbow. It's a really good spot to click it back there. I would also, as a general rule of thumb, if you bet a straight on the flop and you're out of position, they're usually like decent to three bet, especially on flush draw boards, because first of all, they don't block the pairs on the board. So let's say I have 10-9 on jack 8-7, I bet they raise. I'm not blocking the jack, the 8, the 7. I'm not blocking the sets, the two pairs. So it's a really good hand to click back, in my opinion. And also, it's pretty vulnerable to board pairing cards or flush cards. So, and you're out of position, so it's not like you're controlling the pot. Like you can you like when you're in position, it's much easier to slow play, I would say, than when you're out of position. So yeah. And usually I would say that people, from my experience, they don't have much trouble playing the value part of their range. But like I've said, we're going to be focusing on the hardest part of the range, which is the bluffing part of it. Yeah, let's get into it. 3-betting the flop as a bluff. 3-betting the flop as a bluff in 3-bet pots usually means that we have induced our opponent in raising us in a spot where we might be perceived as weak. So spots where we are betting range might induce raises. Spots where we use a small c-bet size, 10%, 15%, 25% size. Spots where we have some snap folds. So I know a lot of people, let's say small blind versus cutoff, they 3-bet cutoff calls. They c-bet small their entire range on ace-9-3, 2 diamonds. If you get raised there, you're going to be folding so much. You're going to be folding every pair that doesn't have a diamond. Like, let's say, I don't know if you would fold kings or queens, but like jacks through sevens without a diamond, snap fold. All the all the broadways without a diamond or without a backdoor flush draw, even with a backdoor flush draw, most of the time they're just gonna have to fold. So there's a lot of things that you're just gonna like being you're just gonna be snap folding here if you're betting range in that spot. So definitely those are like three instances where I could see where we could be inducing a raise. One thing that is also important to note is that most people raise too much in position in 3-bet pots. So this is something that I've noticed like over the last few years. There are spots where people raise that Pio will have literally 0 raises. So it is therefore our duty to punish them and 3-bet the flop, both for value and bluff. So there are spots, let's say I'm big blind versus button, I 3-bet, and I get a queen 8 deuce flop and rainbow, and I bet small and I get raised. This is one of those spots where there's 0 raises, but you'll see a lot of people raising there. So yeah, this is, if people are raising there, it's usually not solver approved, and I kind of want to punish them. So yeah. So yeah, we'll get into this now. I have selected 4 different hands where I did 3-bet the flop in 3-bet pots as a bluff. Let's have a look at those hands and see if my play kind of matches with the solver strategy. And let's also see if villains, they were supposed to have a raising range on those boards. Yeah, so let's get into it. The first hand here that I have marked, this one is the most straightforward, I would say. I mean, it's a bluff, but some could even say it's for value. But yeah, so we get a 3x open from the button. We 3-bet small blind, call, bet small, queen 5 deuce, get raised. I think this is such an easy 3-bet just because it kind of sucks calling and not having the initiative on the turn, and we're pushing a lot of equity. The 4 is really good because if we had ace king of spades, it would be kind of worse. We would be blocking him from having the king eye flush draw. With the 4, we're not blocking any of those high or middling flush draws, so you're pushing a lot of equity there too against that. And yeah, just the gutter is nice, so I think this is like an easy click back. Let's check if this was solver approved. So queen 5 deuce. Almost see betting range there. Just a few hands that are completely giving up. Bet small. And we can see on this queen 5 deuce flush draw board, like the solver only has a 2.72% raising range here. Got some wild stuff like king 6 of hearts. I don't know if people are doing this. Like for value, it's basically just ace queen and deuces. Not much there. Yeah. So Bailey, above 80% of calls should be happening here. And yeah, so like when he raises, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like I don't really think much of it. I think it's like most of the time BS. And we can see that our combo is almost always 3-betting, sorry. Only calling 13% of the time. I did use the wrong size though. I should have gone smaller. I went with the like 47% size, should have been like the 26-25% size. But yeah, definitely a good combo to click back. You have some ace kings as bluff too. Some ace jacks, So yeah, and you have to click back some weak queen X. Some under pairs here with a spade, I believe. Yeah, with a spade. So some flush draw. So yeah, ace 4 without the flush draw. Two works. Ace 4 is really good because you're blocking ace queen as well. So I think that's why it's so popular. Blocking the 5 is also really good. Blocking the middle set and top. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on here. So yeah, solver approved. Sizing was a bit wrong. Let's have a look at the next hand. This one is a bit more spicy, I think. Although it's standard. So reg opens, I 3-bet ace king off, calls 5-3 deuce. So this is a board where we can have a checking range, we can have a bet. We can bet too. I did bet small, got raised, and I click back jam. I think on this board there is no small click back. It's just rip or call when facing the raise on that texture. I like the king of hearts because I'm not blocking him from having, let's say, like ace 8 of hearts. And so I'm ahead of that. And also I do have, 2 overs, gutter, backdoor flush draw. And I put a lot of pressure. And this is definitely a board where I can see people bluff raising a bit too much. Unfortunately for me, he had threes in there, but I think my play was good. Let's just have a look in the solver to make sure that this is true. So we can see, we can check, we can bet my specific combo. Ace of clubs, king of hearts likes to bet quite often. Bet not a lot of raising under 5%, but a board where it in position will have a bit more raises. We can see some nut flush draws, some sets, obviously, some overpairs, some broadways with one heart. So yeah, a couple of things like this, raise, and we can see that jam is the sizing to go after we get raised. My combo calls a lot, but it's the ace king combo that jams the most, 22%. So, solver approved. We got some ace queen, some ace jacks that want to jam. Obviously, the over pairs are always a decent play here to rip. Some nut flush draws. But yeah, your main bluffs are going to be, I don't know if you would treat ace 5 as a bluff, but it's going to be flush draws and ace king, ace queen, ace jack. So yeah, solver approved. So yeah, that's a decent one. This next one, I kind of like it. It's a bit spicy. Button opens. It's a squeeze here, but we're just gonna treat it as if button had open and I had 3-betted from the big blind. Calls. On this queen jack 6 board, I have a 15% size, so I expect to induce a lot with that raise size. With that bet size, sorry, I expect to induce a lot of raises. And we do get raised here. And blocking the 6, I thought this was a really good hand to click back just because I expect him to always 4-bet queens and jacks here versus a squeeze like in those positions. And so the only really good hand that he can have is queen jack suited and 6s. I blocked 6s, so I figured I will click it back. Folded. Let's see if this was accurate or not. So betting range, obviously for 15%. It was like 95%, but I just put range because it's easier. And we can see that even if we bet range and even if we bet for a small size, the solver has 1.48% raises here. And we can see that the main hand that will raise, queen jack, 6s. That's it. There's not much else left. So so what he raises here is repping super narrow. And when we have a 6, we like to click it back a lot. My combo specifically was not doing it that much, but the overall aspect of blocking the 6 was accurate. We can see 7-6, 8-6, 9-6, 10-6. Jack 6 is 2 pairs. Like, this doesn't count, but we can see that having the 6 was definitely a positive block to have. I guess the 5 is not that great solver wise, so it doesn't like it that much, but having a 6 overall was good. So My thinking process was good. The combo was wrong, but definitely a spot where we can three bet here. We can see bluffs are going to be ace kings, obviously. Some king 10, some king 9 off. Some crappy gutters here, like 10-9 off, and some flush draws. Yeah. So, oh yeah, Jack 5 of spades here. That's a really. I wouldn't have expected the Jack X of spades to three bet. I thought it would call there. So it's even pushing equity here with pair plus flush draw. I would not have expected this. So yeah, overall, you see how often we need to three bet there too, like 15% of the time, in a spot where the guy like has zero raises basically. So solver likes to click it back. Next hand, the last one in my example. Button opens. I three bet 7-5 of diamonds. Call. Another spot where I'm c betting for a small size, 15%. I was telling you this might induce. Get raise, min raise. I feel like calling kind of sucks here with that hand. To continue, I much rather retain initiative. I have a gutter to go with it. We're never dead, and so I much prefer like clicking it back. We get the full. Let's have a look. So yeah, even though we're betting like 15% c-bet size, we're not betting all of our range here. It's not the best board for us after three betting, just because a lot of our over pairs are not over pairs anymore. They yeah, and we have a lot of misses too with the broadways, so definitely a spot where we can see bet range, but a lot of people will expect us to see bet range, so I bet 15. And the A-side boards, these low A-side boards are going to be one of the few boards where in position we'll have a decent amount of raises here, as we can see 12%. He raises. I think it's also due to the fact that he raised such a small size too. He basically just clicked it back. And we can see that we have to click it back decent amount of the time, like around 13%. If I were to kind of cancel that size here, yeah, 13.28%. And we can see my combo doing it about half the time, so that's good. Other bluffs are going to be like with a 6, 7, 6, 6, 5 is really good. If you have a 3, it's really good. Blocking ace 3, pocket 3s. Some flush draws, some backdoor flush draws, some good top pairs, some just backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw type of hands. So yeah, a lot going on here, a lot of clicking, which I like. So yeah, it makes you tougher to play against. Really cool. I do enjoy those spots here. So just to summarize things, after viewing those hand histories and saves, we can conclude that three betting aggressively with flop has a decent amount of merit in three bet pos. And we saw in 3 out of those 4 hands, like I got snap folds. The other one like was still a good play. Just sometimes they're gonna have it. It is what it is. Reasons why three betting the flop as a bluff in three bet pots is key. So like I've mentioned, you maintain the initiative in the pot, which is really important. You're not playing like this is point number 2. You're not playing out of position without the initiative. It's a really bad position to be in when you're out of position without the initiative. You see it in single raise spots. Let's say cutoff opens, you call in the big blind, you get ace queen 3 rainbow flop, and you just bet check call. It can't really do much. You can never raise because it's hard for you to have a good hand, and you're just bluff catching with like ace 8 on 3 streets. So yeah, it's the same here. Like playing out of position without the initiative is kind of sucks, So that's why we want to click it back. You fold out some of your opponent's equity, so that's pretty good. Yeah, like just click it back, fold out some of his equity, and you balance your value range as well. So this is also good. So in that last hand, like with 7-5 of diamonds, in that spot, we don't always have ace king. We have some bluffs as well. And just to end here, like 3betting for value is quite easy and valuable, but it's 3betting as a bluff that is the hardest to master. And knowing the theory, putting lots of pressure, and recognizing when your range looks weak are all skills that you will learn to master through running sims and putting yourself in those tough situations. So yeah, there's a lot going on there, and there will be some growing pains, but running sims and like just playing and putting yourself in those situations will help you to get better at 3betting the flop as a bluff in 3bet pots. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode number 3 of my mini course, Redline Mastery. This was the Jericho 2 for runitonce.com. See ya.